Thank you for joining our webinar today. We'll be focused on sharing insight into the latest Microsoft Project for the Web solution for you and your teams. My name is Annie Levand, and I'm with a Microsoft Gold partner called PROJILITY. We've been implementing Microsoft project and portfolio management solutions for over 17 years for large enterprises, including everything from engineering, construction, IT, and new product development. PMOs and CIOs typically come to us when they can't easily explain what's going on across all their projects. They don't know what resources are working on what work, and they have a hard time getting consistent reports, metrics, and dashboards to make project-based decisions. We're known for having a 98% on time, on budget track record for successfully implementing these solutions for clients. We offer services and solutions in 3 core areas: deployment and consulting services, PROJILITY's core business. We provide professional services for successfully planning and implementing Microsoft Project Portfolio Management, including Microsoft Project Online, integrating PPM with a line of business applications, and delivering strategic portfolio management solutions to support top-level management planning. We also have a growing Microsoft Power Platform practice where we are actively working with clients to build applications, workflows, and reports to automate their most important business processes. PROJILITY also offers a set of pre-built software solutions and accelerators based upon 17 years of experience, including a set of Hammerhead products that provide improved access to your cloud PPM data, accelerate access to visual reports and dashboards using Power BI, connect data between your PPM system with Microsoft Teams, and extend connectivity into Active Directory to improve visibility, insight, and control over your work, people, and projects. Finally, PROJILITY provides post-implementation support services, including expert care designed to assist your PMO with gaining on-demand expertise on the solution supported. We have a full online automated e-learning offering that can improve consistency and adoption for your users of your project management tools. We have upcoming webinars covering sessions on best practices for PPM. All webinars will start at 1 p.m. Eastern. You could register for these events using the Eventbrite link provided or by searching Eventbrite PROJILITY in your browser. Hope you can join us for these upcoming sessions. All videos from this and previous series are available on our best practice playlist on YouTube listed on this page. Topics range from managing your digital transformation program using PPM technologies to integrating PPM with Agile and line of business applications. Feel free to subscribe and access this library at any time and share with your colleagues. If you have any questions as you watch the presentation, please log them into the questions and answer manager at the top of your team screen, and we'll review those towards the end of our session. With that, I'm going to hand the presentation off to Rob Hirschman, partner here at PROJILITY. Rob, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Annie, and thanks everyone for joining today. We're really excited to present some content for you specific to Project for the Web. We get a lot of questions as to what is Project for the Web, what are the differences between Microsoft Project and Project Online. So today we're going to help explain some of that, educate you on that. We'll walk through an explanation of what Project for the Web is. We'll talk about some of the different technical components that are a part of Microsoft Project for the Web, talk about some different licensing scenarios, walk you through some kind of screenshots and case studies. Also talk about some of the Microsoft future investments, where this is headed and some of the key areas that Microsoft is really looking to invest in to make some improvements in the product, as well as talk through what does it take to successfully deploy this from a best practice perspective. And finally, we'll answer some questions. As Andy mentioned, if you want to log those in the Q&A manager, we'll take those towards the end. So if we look at what Microsoft offers today, it's really a family of products or solutions. You think about on the far right, if you're just standalone working on a PC with no connectivity, that's where Microsoft Project P3 or Project Standard is a good solution for people that just want to do standard desktop scheduling. We talk about on-premise solutions. Microsoft still offers a desktop client, Project Professional, for the professional project manager. They also have a solution called Project Server Subscription, which can be installed on servers on-premise or out in an Azure cloud. And also there's a client access license, and that is really for the more on-premise focused environments where you don't have access to the cloud or you prefer an on-premise solution. What we really look at where all the investments are really are in the cloud services area on the far left, and that's where Project for the Web sits. It's also where Project Online, the current PPM application, sits. That's where all the licensing sits. And this is where everything is offered through subscription models, through software as a service applications, everything ranging from your easy to use to more advanced project and portfolio management workloads. So there are different products available for different scenarios based off where you are as an organization. And the team that builds Project actually builds three unique products. They tend to think about it as the chart on the left you see here. What capabilities does a user need? Who is the user? Are they an information worker that's really managing tasks and activities, not really working on projects? Are they more of an informal or a business or what they call casual project manager who is managing lighter touch projects? Maybe they're in the business or operations or finance. They're not doing more strategic projects, programs, and initiatives. Or are you more of a professional project manager, part of a PMO or a resource manager, where you need to do enterprise strategic projects and programs? Microsoft has had Planner out for about 6 or 7 years, really as a work management tool and a way to visualize tasks and activities, share those with team members, kind of think of it as the task list on steroids. What we're talking about today is Project for the Web, which is the solution that kind of wedges in the middle between these. It is a visual, intuitive solution really designed for that kind of light touch project management, different from Project Online, which is the full PPM solution. We're going to talk about what parts of Project for the Web are, how they operate. So, what is Project for the Web? It's kind of a strange naming convention. As Microsoft goes more to pure web-based technologies in Office 365, it's common with those technologies. Project for the Web, just like you have Outlook for the web, Visio for the web. So Project for the Web is a ground-up solution built by the Microsoft Project product team that was designed, over the last 5 or 6 years. It's purely web-based. There is no desktop client. It is a project management service, all delivered through Office 365 as a subscription. And it really targets that business or occasional project manager. Microsoft has seen, just like the rest of the industry has seen, you've got your traditional PMPs that are working on large programs, but you also have needs for project management across the business. And maybe, again, it's someone in human resources doing a project, maybe a marketing person, operations, or kind of lighter touch IT projects. That's where there's really a demand. And a lot of pure web-based tools have emerged over the last 5 or 6 years. This is Microsoft's entry into the market. That service is now available in all commercial clients. So if you're a large enterprise or a small medium business, it's there. If you're in the GCC, which is the government community cloud for state and local government and most federal government agencies, it's available now. It went live about a year ago there. It's also available in the education or EDU tenants for K through 12 and higher education. It is not currently available in the Department of Defense or what's called the GCC high clouds. So it's a service that Microsoft is working on enabling in those clouds. So you may not see it if you're there. It's really designed to be very different than your traditional Microsoft desktop client or Project Online. It's designed to be very web-based, intuitive, easy to use and easy to learn, and really focused on what they call modern project management needs, where people can get in, learn, and quickly use and adapt to technology. Maybe they're part of a younger generation that is more used to web-based or mobile types of technologies. It can also be extended out, and this is really where a lot of the opportunities live with Project for the Web. It can be extended out as an app. You're going to see kind of a purple app as we go through this entire presentation. We'll talk about what that means in a couple minutes. You can build an app around Project for the Web in Office 365 and then deliver that to different users to meet specific organizational requirements you have. So if there's different information or metadata you want to track beyond just the project schedule, you can build that into an app and deploy that across your enterprise. That is what Project for the Web is. So what are some of the components of Project for the Web that make it up? Well, at the base of it, there is what we call the core schedule. The schedule is a project made up of a series of tasks. Those tasks may have dependencies. You may want to put those dependencies and tasks in different buckets, and you may want to assign team members to these tasks as well. And from a functionality perspective, this is web-based scheduling. It's really taking everything you have in Microsoft Project and really slimming it down to something kind of a business user or somebody who's not a professional project manager may be able to use and might need. The license they get for that is called Project Plan 1. And that Plan 1 gives them the ability to create, modify, change, and do whatever they want with those projects. The nice thing is if you want to share that with team members, they can view the information or interact with tasks through a standard Office 365 M3, M5 license. So they don't need a project license to view information and interact with the data. Only the owners of the project need that. Now, when we start talking about extending that out, that's where you're going to start to see the purple logo that's here. That's where we start to enable this in something called a Project Power app. So behind the scenes, and we'll talk about the architecture in a little bit, there is the Power Platform. All your data sits in a database behind that. That's where we can extend the solution out to capture other information about projects. So let's say you're in a program office or you're organizing a series of marketing projects and you want to capture information such as the cost on a project. Maybe you want to capture status on a weekly or monthly basis and snapshot that. Maybe you want to capture changes and have change control around those projects, and you have a process around that. Maybe you want to track risks or issues or action items on projects, or even do things like capturing strategies and goals. What you can do with the Power Platform is start to build out an application specific to your processes, your use cases, how you want to run your business and run your projects, and then report off all of that. So think of the Project Power app in purple as a way to extend it out beyond what's in the green, the core schedule at the bottom. All of this data that's you're building in here is all available for reporting. So whether it's just data about the schedule and the health of the schedule, the tasks and dependencies and team members, or it's other information such as a formal status report, change request process, risks and issue reports and dashboards, that can all be exposed through Power BI reporting. So think of Project for the Web at the base of it is that schedule, but the ability to really extend that out and build out solutions that you might need. And Project for the Web all begins with this area called Project Home. So if you were to go to Office 365, you're going to go up to the Rubik's Cube or the app selector in the top left, and you're going to select Project. It's going to bring you to this unified Project homepage. This is a web browser interface. And what Microsoft designed this is they know you may be using multiple project management tools here. You may be using Project for the Web. You may be using Project Online or PWA. You may be using something like an Azure DevOps. Project for the Web helps you surface all this information in one place. So as a user, I can come in, I can go right to the projects, whether I have it, you'll see here in Project for the Web, Project Online, or another application there as well. And then I can sort through this and visualize this as well. So Project Home is the single landing page for all of our projects, as there are multiple applications Microsoft offers now. This gives you access to the services of Project Online and Project for the Web and the projects and data below it. So think of it as a unified landing page. And you may have seen this pop up in your tenant over the last 2 or 3 years. It was really designed to give you quick and easier access. Within that, you have the ability to build out roadmaps. And what a roadmap is, it's the ability to visualize from that project homepage data from either system, Project Online, Project for the Web, or even Azure DevOps or Azure Boards, and then visualize that on a single timeline, color code that timeline, add dates to that timeline, and it's live connected into the projects below it. Then you can share that timeline with different people across the enterprise. Key is here, again, you don't need a project license to view this information. As long as you're an Office 365 M3 or M5 licensee, you can view the timelines and the roadmaps here as well. So really a nice feature Microsoft added when they launched Project Home. They also launched Project Roadmaps, and they're making modifications to that on a driving basis as well. A really important part of this. But once we get into one of the projects here, this is Project for the Web, and there's really a couple different core parts of Project for the Web that are really important. Microsoft pre-built some different views that you can access. These views give you the ability to create, manage, and update projects and project-related information in a modern user interface that's very friendly, very intuitive, very simple, but also growing more and more powerful by the day. That grid view almost looks like a spreadsheet where you can go in, you can initiate a project, and you can add different data about your project here. And again, this is the green part, the core schedule. You can see here we've got a project schedule, we've got project charter, develop preliminary investigations, we're assigning people or different people like Sunny and the administrator. We can add duration, we can have things like risk, we can have start and finish dates, we can label our tasks and activities, we can also do color coding as well. We can do percent complete and dependencies here as well and visualize this. It's a quick and easy way to go and build a project, and you could build it off a template you have as well. So the grid view is really the first part of Project for the Web that most people are going to go in to enter their data about their project tasks and activities. After that, you've got task details. So if you were to click into any task, Project for the Web is going to very quickly surface all the information about that task. In this case, we've got identifying goals and objectives as our task. We've got 2 people assigned. We can add different visual labels to this. We can add the start, the finish date, the duration, the percent complete. We can assign it to different buckets, as we mentioned. We can prioritize the task. We can apply different sprints as Microsoft moves to including some agile functionality. You'll also see there's a checklist function here as well. This is something that Microsoft found lots of people love in Planner, so they've upscaled it into Project for the Web. They see what people are using, they move it between the products, and it's a great way to really iterate on these products to see what people use the tools for. That checklist functionality came based off user feedback and data coming from Microsoft saying, hey, a lot of people are using this. We'd love to see it in Microsoft projects, so they're releasing it in Project for the Web. So the ability to very quickly go in and update task updates is pretty important. You can also assign resources, and a resource in this case is going to be a person, specifically who's going to be assigned to a task or activity they're going to be tracking. So you can assign them to your team, and it becomes an Office 365 group. And then because they're now on your team, you can now assign them to different tasks on your project. Those resources could be internal resources, or if they are guest users in your Office 365, they could again be added as users into a project. So it does allow for that guest user access. They do need to get into the Office 365 firewall first. That allows you to ensure your data is safe and secure. So we're going to create these teams, and by doing that, it's going to create a Office 365 group or link into another one. And that's how security in the core scheduling app, the green app, is actually controlled through O365 groups. There are different views of the data as well. So as you're building out your project, you may want to look at it in more of a Kanban view. So there are different board views here. You can see on the screen now, when we click on the board tab, now for that same project, we've got different work streams here. We've got initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, closing, and we can group it by different buckets. You can see on the right. So when I make that a little bigger here, we can group it by what bucket it is, and we can create new buckets. We can group it by who it's assigned to. We can group it by progress, which is great for Kanban or statusing, group it by finish date. We can add different labels, priority, or even sprint. So it gives you a nice way, a visual way to look at your project and drag and drop things around. This is something that people have requested from Microsoft in Project for years and years. Now it's here in Project for the Web. So as you see now, we're looking at the in progress view. We've got what tasks are not started, in progress and completed. Now we have what's important, medium, and low priority. And finally, if we're following on an agile methodology, we may have a backlog of activities on the left and sprints denoted by these 2-week activity periods, sprint 3, sprint 2, our default, or sprint 1. Again, we can report off all this information. Then there is the traditional timeline or the Gantt chart view. This is a great way to visualize and update your project Gantt, looking at the timeline in real time, and Microsoft continues to make updates to this. You can see it's a very visual Gantt as well. You can clearly see progress on tasks. For instance, identifying goals and objectives. We can see we're about halfway done on that, and that Gantt bar is the progress bar is going to update. We can drag and drop between activities as well to create dependencies and relationships if we want. We can create new tasks. We can click on a task and get information. So it's very visual, very intuitive, purely browser based. Again, really designed to be more modern and intuitive than your traditional desktop project client. It also includes what's called a charts view. Microsoft released this about 6 months ago, and charts are pre-built charts in the application. They give you a view on the top left of your status, how many tasks have not started, how many are in progress, how many are late, and how many have been completed. It's also going to show you a view of the buckets if you're using buckets. How many tasks do you have in each relative bucket, whether it's planning, monitoring, executing, control, or for review. Finally, down at the bottom, it's going to give you a summary of the effort by resource. So you're going to see as you start assigning resources to tasks and activities, it's going to summarize effort. So you can see how much work is not started for each person, how much is in progress, completed, and how much is late. So chart views are kind of a nice pre-built way to get a quick overview of your project. This is followed by a new tab called the People View. This was released about 45 days ago, and it actually is more of a Kanban or a visual chart, almost like the boards, specifically to people and roles. So now I can see for each resource, I've got the administrator who's assigned certain tasks in the initiation phase. I've got Sunny in this case, who's assigned initiation, planning, and execution tasks. Each of those are tasks that are assigned to them that aggregate to a higher level summary task that's there, initiation, planning, control. You can also see Tom has certain tasks, and I can also see the unassigned tasks on the left, and I can drag and drop them over to create an assignment. So the people view is fully interactive, and it allows me to create assignments simply by dragging and dropping tasks and activities to different people. Okay. And finally, Microsoft just released a couple of weeks ago something called the assignments view. They got a lot of feedback that people really wanted to get to the next level of detail. They wanted to be able to see for each resource, like the administrator or Sunny, what are the tasks they're assigned, what are the start and finish dates of the tasks that were established in the grid, the board, or the timeline, and then how many hours are associated with each resource over a period of time. So Microsoft is now starting to expose time phase looks into the data, so you can start to see when the work will occur by resource and by task. And they're going to continue improving upon this on an ongoing basis. It's a great way to view the assigned work by resource on a specific project. So ideally, these views give the project manager enough tools to really build out, plan, and manage their projects on a day-to-day basis. A lot of people want to extend that out and start to do collaboration. So one of the great things about this, it's fully integrated with Office 365 and via integration with SharePoint Online. When you create a new project, once you add it to a new group or an existing group, it can create a SharePoint Online site that does all the document collaboration, creates a team notebook, and does other things. So just like in traditional Project Online, some of these components are starting to be built into Project for the Web. An example would be I'd be in a project, I would highlight what's called team files, and then it would take me over into the matching SharePoint site for that particular project. And as you probably know, SharePoint is the underlying engine behind Microsoft Teams as well. So all of this data will be available through Teams. Whether it's the document library for the project or the OneNote notebook, it's all there and accessible. So Microsoft is starting to extend this out to provide additional functionality people are looking for. Additionally, because you've got this data in these schedules, you can start to create and distribute different reports for different audiences. So let's say you wanted a report to go out to folks where they could see all their project tasks all in one place. That would be a Power BI report in this case that would be filtered by the resource. So someone like Tom or Todd or Mike could go in and look at all of their tasks in a single report and then go to each one and update the status or the progress there. Or let's say you have a manager or executive that just wants a visualization of the timeline. They kind of like that the roadmap view, but they want something a little more kind of something in a PowerPoint or a PDF or something they can kind of interact with in a different basis. You could create a report like a portfolio timeline here in Power BI. Again, publish that out and people can see all the projects in their area and the progress of those. And finally, maybe you wanted a portfolio dashboard for senior management so they could very quickly get in and look at information and maybe sort it by show me the projects that are in progress, show me the projects by a certain project manager, the ones that have tasks in a certain bucket if you standardize on those. So you can think about the reporting being a great opportunity to really drive outputs and really measure your progress of your projects in a consistent way using reports. These are all Power BI reports. Additionally, as mentioned before, this is all designed to work with Microsoft Teams. Within Microsoft Teams, there are two apps that are relevant if you go in there. If you search for the project app or the roadmap app, what those do is those two apps link into the projects you have in Project for the Web or the roadmap you have that's surfacing data from all your projects in one place. And this is a view of Microsoft Teams where I've clicked on a specific project, the marketing campaign, and you can see I have a very similar view to what I had over in Project for the Web. I have a timeline view here. I've got a board view here. You can see all of the functionality in Microsoft Teams continues. On the far right, we have the chat window. So as we're reviewing maybe all the tasks and activities on a project, we may start a conversation and @mention people and link into certain documents that are in the document library. It has full collaboration through Microsoft Teams. We can look at that visual timeline, and again, we can comment on this and all the comments are kept with it. And finally, we can expose some of the reports and the dashboards that you've created through Microsoft Teams as well. So you may go to Teams, go into a project, go through the schedule review, go through the details on the documents, go through the status meeting, and then go through and review this as it relates to the entire portfolio and get some reports out as well. Teams can really act as that aggregator for all of this data. And finally, access to your documents that are stored in SharePoint Online. So it's really going to help you surface all this data through Microsoft Teams that's quickly and easily available, and you're managing it in Project for the Web as well as the SharePoint Online component here. Okay. So from there, that's the basic scheduling tool and some of the built-in capabilities. What if we wanted to extend this out? What if we wanted to take this and build an app that's unique to our organization? We want to capture other metadata about projects. That's where we're going to leverage the Power Platform. And the Power Platform is natively going to tap into this because Project for the Web is built on a Power Platform backend. So this is an example of a Power Platform application or an app that's deployed to support specific project management information capture and management you want. So you'll see here, if we look at this, on the left-hand pane, there are not only projects, we have programs. So we've created an entity called a program. We've created reports, and we've also created something called a project request. So what's going to happen is you can capture all of this data in the Power App. I can go in and for every project, in this case, the Coho reporting project, I can capture summary data, which you'll see on the screen. I can capture business case data. I could capture financial data on the project. I could capture resources on the project, which is kind of in its infancy with Project for the Web. I could do my task management, which is all being done in the schedule. I could capture risks, issues, changes, status, and then apply any processes to these. Because this is built on the Power Platform, we have access to something called Power Automate, which allows us to route things for different approvals and through different life cycles. So you can see at the top here, we have a workflow for this project. We have a main project workflow. It went through planning. It's currently in execution. It go to a closeout. We could have risks that get escalated, or maybe we turn a risk into an issue at some point, or have change control and have changes approved by your management team. or status reports approved as well. This is built on a full Power Platform, so it allows you to do a lot of automation around these things that you probably couldn't do before without customization. That's really one of the real strengths of the Power Platform, is the ability to capture project-related information, metadata, and route it for approvals. Okay. You can also deploy different kinds of reports. So now that we have additional information here beyond just the schedule, we can start to do this. And this is all what's called a model-driven power app. There's a canvas and a model-driven app. Model-driven is built with a structure. It's always going to look the same. So that panel on the left is always going to be consistent across every model-driven app. It may have different data or different kind of entities you're capturing. A canvas app is more of a custom application you're building from scratch. So it's going to have a familiar look and feel, which makes it easier to use and easier to learn over time. Well, we can also take it and we can start to embed some of our reporting in that Project Power app. So we may have dashboards and reports specifically around project intake. In this case, we're looking at all the requests coming in. We're looking at the strategic score of each request. We're looking at the prioritization of them. Then we have the ability to drill down. So we're going well beyond the schedule into requests, into maybe resources. We may be looking into project status, issue and risk management. Again, extending it out to create more of a project management information system versus just a scheduling tool. And that's really one of the benefits or the really powerful parts of this. It's all built on a Power Platform. So it allows you to not only do the reporting, but capture all your data in one place. So what does the architecture of this look like? And this is all purple because this is all Power Platform at this point. We're going well beyond just the green scheduling service. Now we're in Power Apps. You know, there is the core project service at the top left and the scheduling service. And those are core components that are really running behind the scenes to allow you to do a lot of the scheduling and task management components that are out there we're talking about. There is the roadmap service that sits on top of that. And this all applies to what we call modern group security. Office 365 groups are what govern access to this service. When we get down to the bottom, that's where we're actually deploying Power Apps. And Power Apps kind of replaces the green UI to become our front end. This is where we're going, and we've got a designer module to design the actual front end of the app. We're designing the different forms. We can design different views. We can also create and manage different dashboards. Below that, we have Power Automate, which is really the automation or workflow engine that can work behind the scenes, automate business processes and workflows. And at the end of the day, all the data here is stored in something called the Dataverse. That is the Office 365 database that stores data from a Power Platform application, as well as the Dynamics applications as well. You'll see there's also on the far right, there's sharing and security. So all the security at this point, when we're in the Power App, sits at this level. We're determining security, setting up different roles and categories, and then we can actually start to explore integration of this with other applications and data sources. So the architecture moves from what it was before to this, and now you can see it's really built on a Power Platform So, we get a lot of questions, when is this relevant? When do I look at one solution or the other? What is Project for the Web really targeted for? We've come up with a couple of targeted use cases to help really give you a little bit of background on that. The first one we find is that project organizations or organizations that manage a lot of projects that may not have PMOs, that are kind of low to moderate maturity. They need quick and easy tools to do their jobs. They have basic project information they're trying to track. Project for the Web is probably a really, really good fit because it's all available through Office 365. Some gaps in this, if you want to do true enterprise scheduling, Project for the Web isn't there yet. It's something Microsoft is working on, and it can handle a certain number of tasks, a certain number of scenarios. For instance, it doesn't have things like cross-project dependencies. It doesn't have baselines yet. There are certain things that are still in process that Microsoft didn't know people wanted, and they continue to develop the product with those requests in mind. The second one is if you have to do true resource management or any kind of capacity planning, probably not the right fit. This tool does not support that. It supports high-level resourcing and assigning of resources to tasks over time, but we're not talking detailed tasking and time tracking. And that's the other key thing. If you're looking to do timesheets or you want to do detailed task tracking, Project for the Web isn't there yet. There's a little asterisk there because that is something Microsoft is working on the task tracking side we'll talk about. Project for the Web is really, really good in certain scenarios. And if you're looking for basic, simplified project scheduling that's very, very visual, that core schedule can be a godsend. It'll move you off of third-party products that are outside of Office 365, and your data is all available for reporting. So just by subscribing to it, you can start to build your projects, almost like you do with Microsoft Planner. Additionally, if you want to extend this out and start to do some basic project intake, you want to have some workflow around some different processes. Maybe you want to do basic data collection on information around projects, and you want to do any reporting. Those are some strengths of the Power Platform, and you start to glue that together with Project, you can really support a good life cycle here. If you're also looking to track any components that are higher level than projects, maybe you have a program and you want to capture program-related metadata, the cost, the high-level benefits, the resources on the program, you can do that in Power Apps fairly directly, as well as portfolios, as well as initiatives. Any of these that have unique metadata associated with them. They're not just fields, they're actually entities of information where you're capturing data like a cost, a status, a benefit. Power Apps can be really, really good at that and designed around those kind of structures. And finally, organizations that are heavy into supporting Power Platform applications, if you already have a base of these or you're moving in this direction, this may be a really good use case to look at. Deploying Microsoft Project in a Power App, starting to mold that around your different project management needs. It can replace a lot of other tools you might have in your environment today. The coming soon is really interesting, and this is something that Microsoft is making an investment in the task tracking area, and we're going to talk about that next. So, what's coming next? Well, there is a roadmap out there. It's publicly available, based on conversations and understanding, kind of watching the tea leaves of where Microsoft is going. There's really 4 key areas of investment, or 5 key areas of investment Microsoft is looking at. The first one is improvements to the scheduling engine. This would include updates to the web-based scheduler, addressing some gaps that are out there for things like lead and lag time, which again, when the product was released, wasn't really designed to do detailed scheduling, but people want that. Got feedback and they're updating it, adding things like baselines, adding things like improved performance, adding things like standardization around task level fields and information. Again, these are things that Microsoft is getting feedback that customers want, so they're starting to update the product. So the first area. The second area, really, and probably the most requested one, is really around task updates. When this product was released 3.5 years ago, it was really focused on that business or occasional project manager, the people that would build and manage projects. Again, the feedback was, this is great. We've got lots of team members that want to know what they're working on or what they're assigned to all in one place. Based on all this feedback, this has been developed. It's in development now by Microsoft, what's called a unified My Task capability, where team members can go into Teams, an area called Tasks for Teams, view their project tasks along with their other activities, submit their updates, and that will go and update the project schedule for the project manager. So that's the second area of investment. And there's a lot of people kind of watching this one right now. The third area of improvement we're seeing some movement around is really around resource management. Now, this is important to a lot of organizations that want to track people and what people's utilization are. Today in Project for the Web, it's fairly rudimentary. You can assign a person or a group of people to a task, you can create a level of effort, and then you can go in and you can kind of do that detailed planning. Over time, this may include the ability to do things natively, such as seeing resource work and progress across multiple projects in one place, something Project Online does pretty well today, and without having to go into a report. So again, this is an area of investment Microsoft has been looking at, and there's certain functionality that they're targeting over time. The fourth area is really around security and administration. The idea here is to make it a lot easier to administer and manage this as an application, not just adding people and going, but having different security based on different roles in the organization. Also, Microsoft is looking at ways to make administration of the tool a little easier. Right now, you kind of have to dig into the Power Platform and understand that. It's almost more of a developer activity, kind of surfacing that more into an admin panel, which would make it a lot more useful for project management offices. Finally, the fifth area of improvement we're seeing and starting to see investment in is really around integration with other tools. And that would be integrating Microsoft Project with other Microsoft related tools that are out there. We've been seeing some movement around this, specifically around Microsoft Planner, where you have a lot of people that use Planner, but they kind of hit a ceiling with what Planner can do. Wouldn't it be great to click a button and upscale your Planner plan and make that into a project for the web project? And it's something that's in the works right now. They're also working on potential integration with tools like Viva Goals. Viva is a tool that was acquired about 18 months ago by Microsoft for goal setting, organizational HR personnel goal setting. Microsoft is working on some integration there. So maybe at some point in the future, you'll be able to link your organizational goals to the project activities you have. And that's really the idea, is better integration with the rest of Office 365 in a much more native format. Stay tuned for more updates on this from our team. As Microsoft makes these available, we'll definitely keep you posted. So you're thinking about going down the road with Project for the Web. What are some things to think about? We've been deploying this for 3.5 years for clients, including the Project Power app, which was released about almost a year and a half ago. Think about Project for the Web as an opportunity. It's more than just a scheduling tool. If your challenge is we got to do web-based scheduling and we're trying to get off another tool, go for it. Turn it on, start using it, maybe get some basic training on it and go. But remember, it can really be crafted into a solution that can meet a lot of project management requirements you have, because it's not always just about the schedule, as you know. The first thing you want to do is start by identifying the problems you're trying to solve. What are the challenges? What are the business needs? And how can we leverage this technology to address those? And most likely, you're going to be able to do that within this platform. You also want to start thinking about the different technology components related to this goal. Are we doing a very basic schedule? Do we need a Power App that's got 40 or 50 or 60 pieces of data? We need to report on that. Do we need governance workflows and approvals? Are we trying to do project intake? These are all different processes. You want to start to identify what is the right technology for the job based on what you're trying to achieve. You also want to start thinking this as more like building an app versus lighting up a service. You light up that service, that app layer is there, but it's kind of a big empty box. It's almost like moving into an empty house. You want to know what color you want to paint the walls. You want to understand where the furniture goes. You want to design it around your specific project management needs. And that's really one of the powers of this platform. You have a lot of flexibility around that. You can really sit down and spend some time designing a proper application. But you also want to think about, how am I going to support this thing? We're moving from more of a SharePoint foundation and desktop now to a pure web-based service that's all built on the Power Platform. You got to have that kind of support internally, or you have to figure out a way to do it, because now you're supporting an entirely different platform in the database. Do you have that governance in place? How's it going to be managed? How do I do things like environment sync? How do I do application lifecycle management? Those are all big questions you want to think about. Finally, understand that this solution, like any solution you put in place, does require planning and does it require deployment. It's not something you just want to hand out to people, because they will get confused. They'll use it in 5 or 10 different ways, and then you'll have no standardization. At the end of the day, you want to provide tools that are flexible for your user, but give people at the top the information they need to make good business decisions. There's just a balance between those two, and really designing something that makes the most sense. And just remember, like any project management tool or application we'll talk about, support is both on the technical side, but also on the process side. We tend to say that 90% of the support of the application is more process related, how people use it, the quality of the data, the information they're managing, and the regularity around that versus the technology. There's always going to be technical things that are going to come up you're going to need to support, but keep in mind that a lot of that is driven by the process people follow when they're using the application. And finally, think about developing a rollout strategy and a plan. Think about building your own roadmap for project and project for the web, because as the tool grows, you may have needs that grow as well. So we just wanted to provide you with that update, really some deployment good practices if you are thinking about going down this road. And think about kind of that crawl, walk, run, not to throw something out there that has been used for years, but how do I get into a basic solution? How do I kind of upscale that into more of a walk and move it into a run as more advanced, mature needs emerge? So, how can PROJILITY help? If you are interested, we do offer implementation services, as Annie mentioned. If you're looking to review the tool, you want a demonstration, or you want to provide a list of requirements and see how closely you can map to that, or maybe you've got an existing web-based technology you're trying to get rid of right now or trying to streamline into a Microsoft Office 365 platform, we can help. Share that information and we'll help drive you to the right solution and give you the right guidance. We can also assist the second bullet with the planning, the implementation services and training, which is, again, our core business, as well as adoption support and being there when you have challenges or questions or governance or users have problems they need help with. Finally, we do have some value-added solutions, again, called Hammerhead. We've got a connector between project and teams, which automates the connection there. We've got a data warehouse, which takes data from your projects, puts them all in one place for offline reporting. We do have an e-learning platform, which can help educate your users on consistent use of some of these tools. If you're interested in any of this, feel free to reach out, information at PROJILITY.com, or you can hit our website, PROJILITY.com as well. So with that, that is the end of our presentation today. Hand it back to Annie. We're going to open the floor to any questions. Annie, anything coming into our queue?
Yes, Rob, we do have a couple questions. Is the project center same as the project for the web?
Could you restate the question one more time? I'm sorry.
This person asked, is the project center same as project for the web?
So the project center is a component of Project Online. That is the current PPM application that Microsoft supports in Office 365. Project for the web is a different solution than that. So it's actually the pure web-based solution built on the Power Platform. So they're two different solutions. So Project Center provides visibility into your traditional Microsoft project, professional projects, and Project Online. This is a different solution than that.
Our second question is, do the resources have the ability to update their task in the people view? For example, provide the percentage of the task they've completed?
Absolutely, that's a really good question. So yes, a resource, if you grant them access to the project, they'll be able to go in and go to the people view and click on their tasks. When they click on a task, they can go in and update the percentage complete, how much work they have. Absolutely, it gives them the ability to do that. So yes.
Our last question from Cheryl If you had to scale where Project for the Web is compared to the past versions of Project Online or Project Server, how would you gauge maturity of Project for the Web, like Project 1998 or Project 2003? Seems like a lot of room to grow, and Microsoft is pursuing the growth to expand.
Yeah, Cheryl, it's a really good question. I would almost think about it more like it's a different solution. They're taking a very different approach. When Project was built in the 1990s, it was really designed around professional project managers and providing as much functionality as possible. And then Project Server and then Project Online came along and said, how do we enterprise enable that functionality? Project for the Web is taking a different approach. It's actually a bottoms up approach. It's saying, we're going to give you something very simple and basic. And over time, based off your feedback, we're going to add things to that. So instead of going kind of top down and leading with all the functionality, they're saying we're going to give you a little bit and we're just going to kind of iterate on that over time. Maturity wise, I mean, it's really designed for kind of low to moderate mature organizations. If you're a formal PMO that is PMO processes, it might not be a fit right now. You know, in 3 or 4 years, it might be closer to a fit, but they're kind of building it with a different methodology, I think, Cheryl, and that's really driving the functionality that's going into the tool. Hopefully that helps, but it's a high growth area for Microsoft. Again, they think about kind of the professional project management market, as like, 5 to 10 million people, but this kind of occasional project manager market or business project manager is 3 to 4 times that size. So it's almost a different market of people they've created the product for. And as I mentioned, Project Professional, the desktop isn't going away. That is not they're not going to be sunsetting that anytime in the near future. That's been made very, very clear. So you're still going to have this delineation between kind of professional project management and more of the kind of light touch or, lower maturity project management.
Rob, we did have one more final question come through. What is the recommended way to migrate from Project Online to Project for the Web?
The great question. Right now, there isn't a technical migration path. Microsoft is working on that. It literally would be a matter of taking your projects from one and migrating all the data and content to the other in a manual way. They have made it clear that as they move down this road over the next couple of years and more investment in Project for the Web, there will be a more tightly defined migration path that may include some technical tools to assist with the migration as well. At PROJILITY, we're actually working on that as well. We've got our first clients that are saying, hey, if we wanted to go to Project for the Web, what would that look like? And if we're on Project Online, what does the migration look like? The first thing is, does Project for the Web give you the functionality you need? Can you meet your requirements with it? If so, let's talk about an approach to bring configuration, data, content, reports over in a way that's meaningful, that actually is kind of a one-to-one, understanding there are some gaps in that functionality. But I think a lot of it comes down to just sitting down and planning it out, mapping what you want in one system versus the other, and coming up with a migration strategy. And if you need any assistance, definitely reach out. We can kind of walk you through what we've developed so far.
We have one more question from Stefan. Do resources need a license to Project for the Web to update their tasks? Are there any tasks people can do without a license?
Good question, Stefan. So yes, as mentioned, team members or people that are going in that are just assigned tasks do not need a project license. As long as they are licensed in your Office 365 environment, they have an E3 or an E5, I think it's an M3 and M5 now, they will, it's called Project for Office 365. It's a license, it's a free license for those users. So those users can then interact with their tasks and the project as a whole, acting in a different role than the project manager. So they can absolutely access that data, yes.
I think this is the last question we have time for. Do custom Project for the Web columns need to be set in Power Apps? Today, they don't show up in Power BI.
Correct, and that's again a gap area right now. So you're talking about kind of custom enterprise custom fields at a task level. They don't exist today, and they're not available for reporting. But that is something Microsoft has on their future state roadmap of having enterprise custom fields available at a task level. There's no way to do it in Power Apps today. We just kind of have to wait for that functionality to be released. So.
I think there are no more questions, Rob. Well, thanks to everyone that joined our session today. Please do reach out if we can assist with any of your project, program, or portfolio management related efforts, or to explore how Microsoft's latest project platform can have an impact on your business. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much.